All right, guys, how's it going? Well, every day I receive emails from companies that want me to publish content on the coptalk.com website and then link to their website, because that helps them go up the Google rankings, if you like, in simplest terms. It's called a backlink. And the older your domain name, the more established your website, the more clout, if you like, Google will give it. All right. So obviously the Cop Talk domain names, co.uk.com, whatever, they go back to the 1990s or whatever. So that's why I get a lot of offers, to do that. And if you're naive and you don't know how it all works, you're getting mugged off, really. So they'll send you a feature about something to do with Liverpool, thinking that, I will go, oh, that's interesting, I'll put that online for everybody, But the reality is the content is interesting, but they should pay for that, right? It's called a sponsored article, if you like. So I don't have a problem putting content on the website if it's, relevant to Liverpool Football Club, and I think it will be of interest to the people that maybe visit the website or, watch my content or whatever. But I also know that you should pay to do that, and revenue is important, definitely. And the thing is, 9 times out of 10, the people that approach you are agencies for big betting companies, all right? So they've been paid by a betting company to get, more and more backlinks, if you like. So there's a lot of money floating around, these big organizations, like if an ordinary fan came to me and said, Dunk, could you publish this article on your website and maybe link to my blog, Liverpool blog, I'm trying to get, no problem, of course I'd do that. But when it's a big organization or a big agency, I know that they're trying to exploit people. So I'm just going to tell you, I'm just trying to introduce you to a little bit of that if you don't understand. And that's why you see a lot of former Liverpool players quoted by betting sites, right? So it'll say, things like John Barnes told imaginarybookie.co.uk this about who Liverpool should sign next. And the betting companies are not really interested in what John Barnes has got to say. It's about getting that link out there on as many websites as possible. Because if you're going to quote something, especially if it's interesting or controversial, you have to say where it came from, in reality. So the more controversial a quote, the more websites publish it and link to who John Barnes was talking to. Does that make sense? So one of these emails I received, when did I receive it? Yesterday. And I'm just going to read it to you. Now, the content of the email is actually interesting, which is why I'm reading it to you. But I just wanted to explain to you why they reached out to me with this content. And this is from someone that is called a digital PR manager. And they think they're going to reach out to Cop Talk, me, and that I'm going to go, oh, this is, makes it sound like I know what I'm talking about, blah, 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 and put it on my website. I'm not going to put it on my website because I know that this company should pay me to do so. But what I am going to do is talk to you about it because I think it's interesting. And basically they're quoting a bookmaker, okay? And their supercomputer, which is called Betsy, ran its algorithm to predict how the 2023-24 Premier League season will pan out after the last weekend's results, where Liverpool kept up their strong start to the season. Jurgen Klopp's men ran out 3-1 winners against Wolves in Saturday's early kickoff. Now, the supercomputer simulated the Premier League season 100,000 times. The supercomputer takes into account all match results from last season across all competitions, pre-season results, and the current season as it progresses, projecting that the season, based on both pre-season expectations and XG earned both for and against during the season. I hate that. One of the things I can't stand is when people is statistics, to be honest with you. But anyway, each their own. All I care about is how many goals are scored in a match and how many goals we don't concede. You know what I mean? Like, that's it for me. When people start talking about XG and all that, it sounds like a fucking rapper. Liverpool are projected to finish second, with an approximate 4-point gap between them and Man City. Arsenal are tipped to finish third, with Newcastle trailing behind in fourth. Everton, Luton and Sheffield United are predicted to go down. Get in at the Everton bit. Well, I don't know about you. I'd like to see Everton go down for a laugh, but I'd miss the derby so much. The latest projected table is attached for your reference, and I don't know if you can see that, but there's all the information. So Liverpool finished second, played 38 games and won 24.0. This is what makes me laugh, because you can only win, a round number, and they've got Man City is winning 27.9. Anyway, Liverpool will win 24, draw 7.5, lose 6.6, will score 80.5 goals, concede 37.8, with a goal difference of 42.7, and Liverpool will finish with 79.4 points, behind Manchester City on 89.3. And basically, the email goes on to say, you can access the table for final positions, probabilities, and projections at the start of the season in this sheet, which is a link. The projections were made using betting, whoever's supercomputer Betsy, which takes into account multiple data points, including XG, XA, and runs the simulation 100,000 times. Now, this is the bit here. Look, the data and tables are available for your use. When used, or where used, this is the important bit, where used, please credit, the betting company or website as the source. So I don't have a problem, like crediting anyone really, but I ate a mug. However, I do think that that's rather interesting. I thought you might be interested to know that Liverpool are going to finish second. All right. And it could be right. I mean, a Super Cup. Do you pay much attention to these things, guys? When you hear of similar things like this, I mean, you might even have read this, because they'll have reached out. They'll have sent this same email to loads of Liverpool websites and that. Do you believe in that stuff? Do you believe in stuff like that? When it comes to statistics. See, like, I always think, like, if you want to have a bet on a football match, and I like to have a bet on a game, right? I ain't had a bet for a while, to be honest with you. I do it out of interest, to have an interest in a game, especially if I'm a neutral in that game. So if there's a game on, it's like, I don't know, Palace versus Wolves, and I'm like, oh God, is that? I will put a bet on to have an interest in the game. Otherwise, I'm not going to really enjoy it. And I tend to do the plus 2.5 goals, which means that you have to score more than 2 goals in that game to win your bet. And any team can score them. And it's good because it means on every attack in each direction, both teams are playing for you. So you might put a fiver on plus 2.5, and that means there's got to be more than 2 goals in the game, right? So 3 goals, so you have 2-1, 2-2, 3-0. Do you know what I mean? That's what I do when it comes to having a bet. But when I know that a lot of people, when they bet, they'll just always back Liverpool, like, I bet a fiver on Liverpool to win, And then you'll often see on these websites, betting websites or whatever, they'll have the percentages and statistics, and Liverpool, usually wins 72% and all this. And these statistics are very good, and I'm sure that they're very accurate, like over a period of time. And obviously that's how the bookmakers make their prices, on the markets and things. But you can never predict, like the own goal or the stupid decision by a referee or VAR, or those freak things that can happen in a game of football, or a sending off, which can happen. It used to be the case, I don't know if this still is the case, but statistically, I don't like statistics, but I know about this one, or I did, that if you lose a player and you're down to 10 men, that statistically the outcome of the game isn't usually much different. I don't know if that's still the case. That'll have been something from, back in the day. Maybe the Premier League's completely different now. But, when you lose a player, you think, oh no, we've got a disadvantage. But it used to be the case. It didn't really make much difference. I guess it depends who the player is, right? But are you someone that's like, that pays a lot of attention to statistics. Like, do you listen to what I've just said to you about that supercomputer and think, oh, that sounds all right? Like a supercomputer can predict what it wants, but you can't, predict what is going to happen. Man City, they could have a number of injuries, although they've got a great squad, right? Your team could be hit with food poisoning. You might have a goal, ricochets off someone or a stupid decision. So maybe the supercomputer takes that into account. I'm not quite sure why you need to include pre-season fixtures in this, but predicting it 100,000 times is pretty impressive, right? But what do you think? I'd love to know what this supercomputer predicted last year. But I mean, how many people that follow football, even if they're neutral, will say Man City to win the league, Liverpool to come close? In a normal situation. So maybe it's not rocket science. I don't know. So I thought I'd run it by you. And again, I do talk about this many times. These betting companies that try to get players to, especially make controversial statements, and especially about signings. So I just want you to remember this, right? If you've never heard me talk about this before. If you ever see a former Liverpool player, a Liverpool legend, right, someone that's worth paying attention to, especially if they are an ambassador of the club, I know that a lot of people by default will think, oh, that player must know what's going on. That person must know what's going on because they're a club legend. The reality is they know about as much as me and you, right? But some people will think that. So if I don't want to say John Barnes because I love John Barnes. Like, John Barnes is my favourite Liverpool player ever, and he is a club ambassador and he is quoted by these companies all the time, and rightly so. John Barnes would not mislead you. You know what I'm saying? I absolutely love the guy. I have the utmost respect for him. But when a player, John Barnes or anybody else, a former great, says this player is, exactly who Liverpool should be buying to replace Mo Salah, for example, I know that people will read that and go, it's John Barnes. He must know what's going on. He's heard something. Especially, I've seen it a lot when Robbie Fowler comments about things. He must know something. He wouldn't be saying that if he didn't. Oh, it must be going to happen then. And that's what happens. But what I want you to do is always look to see who the player was talking to. Because if it's like John Barnes said in an interview to the official LFC website, the Offal, as we used to call it back in the day, or was talking to the Times newspaper or something, then, he's just giving his opinion. When it's a betting website, they want to have the most juiciest stuff going because more people will quote. Sorry, I'm getting a message. More people will quote juicy things, right? So, if John Barnes speaking to betting website thinks that the new stadium looks great, a lot of people, or the new stand looks great, they're going to go, well, that's not really interesting. Not many people are going to visit my website because of that. But John Barnes says this is the man to replace Mo Salah. All those people are going to be like, well, I'm putting that on because that's going to get a lot of traffic. And then that serves its purpose with the backlinks to the betting website that is then pushed up higher up the rankings, you see. So maybe it's too tech for you. Maybe you really couldn't give a shit. I get it. But what I'm trying to do here is protect you. So always look at who they're talking to. And it doesn't mean that person's spinning a yarn. But a betting, if your betting company comes forward to you and says, we'll give you $1,000 for your comments, you know what I mean? You're going to think, oh, that's, if you're being paid $1,000 to give some comments for a betting website, do you want that betting website to come back again and give you another $1,000? You do, right? So you're not going to talk about a new stand, are you? You're going to talk about something juicy. And sometimes people might be just putting these opinions out there and people take it a little bit more serious because of who they are. So always check who the player was speaking to, right? And then if it's a betting website, I tend to think, yeah, whatever. Okay? And what's the other thing I always say to you? Oh, the other thing I always say to you is when you read a news article, player says whatever, or manager says whatever, always read the quotes before you read the article. That might sound a bit silly, but you can read 2 or 3 paragraphs maybe before that player is quoted, and the person writing the article can influence you with that blurb around the quotes, right? Because some journalists have agenda, pro something or against something or someone, right? So if you see the headline, you can't really avoid that, but then go straight to the quote. So I scroll down the article, all right, he said this, and then you can scroll up, read the rest and think, well, hang on a minute, they're just putting a bit of a spin on that. You know what I mean? Hey, just little tips, dunk knows best and all that. All right. So what do you think about Liverpool finishing second? Do you think the computer's going to be right? I guess Man City are the team to beat. I don't think that's difficult. We don't need to be a fucking computer to work that one out. But what about the other competition around us this season? What do you think? Yeah, very happy with how Liverpool have started the season, but I didn't like that international break coming up so soon. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a little bit different to what we usually talk about. I'm trying to do my best to give you some different content. I'm trying to avoid negative subjects, which do dominate. Being a Liverpool fan sometimes. So let's stick with, let's just try and keep things a little bit different for a little bit, because I tell you what, it brings me down so much. So if you enjoyed the video, please thumbs up and drop me a comment. This very, very important to me what you think. And if you really enjoyed the video, you can hit the super thanks button. Okay, guys, thank you. Take care. Have a fabulous day.